Hi, everyone. I'm Alison Chopel. I was in cohort 7, and I'm really excited to be here because the participating in this program was definitely life-changing for me, and I talk about it all the time. And I've even been talking to the teachers about wanting to translate the curriculum and potentially make it available in Spanish at some point. I live and work in San Juan, Puerto Rico, the colonized territory of the US, and the island of Borinquen, which was originally stewarded by Tainos and is currently stewarded by many of their ancestors, descendants. I can talk, I've been given one question, and then I saw one question in the chat. But I'll just start with like a quick overview of what brought me to the program. Does that seem okay, Arne, or should I jump? Okay. So when I started, I was working in a nonprofit. I'd been working in nonprofits for a couple decades. My background's in public health, and the work was beginning to feel very kind of soul crushing. Maybe that's a little bit dramatic, but it was very, very colonialistic. The program that I was working for, the way that decisions were made, and the relationships of accountability were all out of whack. And so I started working kind of on the side, volunteering with other people outside of where I was working that could be described, I think, all as entrepreneurs, whether social entrepreneurs or business entrepreneurs, but people here in Puerto Rico who were really thinking about doing recovery differently and doing it differently in a way that's actually taking into account some of the things that brought us here, and trying to fight for more local sovereignty and for better, more eco-friendly or ecologically sustainable ways of doing things, and programs that are increasing rather than decreasing equity. And so that journey brought me to LIFT because I started to get very, very interested in how to make the kind of change that I've always been working for, but outside of the nonprofit industrial complex. And I got a lot out of the program. My favorite things were getting to learn case studies about, well, first just like learning the terms and the overall framework of the solidarity economy or the next economy or the well-being economy, because I hadn't learned about that elsewhere. It was a new kind of entire area for me. So that was great. And then getting to learn about programs and businesses and case studies that are happening all over the world, mostly in the US, but in different parts of the world that are actually right now bringing the solidarity economy or in examples of the solidarity economy that is happening now. Because kind of before I joined, I had this idea that like we just had to work for capitalism to end and then we could start something new. But this really helped me with thinking theoretically about how we can work against the most harmful parts of our current economy while also creating, working to create other ways of relating to each other and being in our economy and other economic structures and relationships. And so the other thing, so I mentioned case studies, the other thing that was really helpful was just the other people that I got to meet. First and foremost, the teachers. They're amazing, their wealth of knowledge. And also so many of the students I really connected to, and I'm still connected to some of them today because we connected on certain, areas of the economy that we're working in. And so one question that I saw was submitted beforehand, which was how people who have been through the program and how their education helped them be in capitalism. I think that's a great question. And for me, it helped me because I realized that I wasn't trapped in it, that I could be in this capitalist society where I live and also be in many solidarity economy or new economy projects and communities and relationships. And so I've been able to leave that job that I mentioned that was soul crushing. And now I have more freedom to work with all kinds of values aligned projects, most of them that are led by local Puerto Rican leaders who are doing really innovative and amazing things that bring all of these values into alignment for me. So I'm about to go into holiday break like many of you, I think, and I'm just like, okay, that's great, but if I keep working, it makes me happy too, because the work that I get to do is so fulfilling. Um, so I'm not sure if I fully answered that question, but I think the other question was something about how if there is help, like what kind of jobs and where do graduates end up working, and if they provide any kind of support for graduates to find jobs. So the reason, like when I started this program in cohort 7, I didn't have any necessarily career transition ideas, or I was working for a 5-year recovery program, and I was committed to finishing out the 5 years of that program. And in the course of this learning program, I realized that that was an unnecessary limit that I was putting on myself. And the first section of the learning journey that they take you on is kind of focused on, they do like a big overview, and then they do some like life planning, or take you through that and give you these examples of things that you can use to really explore yourself and your interests. And to be honest, at first I was like not super into that, because I was like, I can do, my own planning on my own. I always think about it, but it ended up being like, now in hindsight, I feel like it was really helpful, because one of the exercises was asking, like they had very kind of dreamy exercises. And so I wrote down like what would be my ideal day, week, year of work, what would be the rhythms. And I think I had the chance to talk to some of the teachers about it, and I expressed a lot of like impatience and frustration, because my vision was so far away from what I was living at that moment. But as I look back on it now, I'm like, now the life that I have is much more closely reflective of that vision that I wrote. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's because of any necessarily like direct support that was provided, but I think that those exercises that they gave was more helpful than like a career counselor could have been. I also am aware that they have a newsletter that they send out, I think monthly, that always has some job links, and they're always just a fountain of information. So if you like, I know that in the cohort, they work with students who, if you kind of have an idea about what you want to do or where you want to go, you can always reach out to them, and they'll give you lots of ideas. And then when you're in the cohort, you get to be part of a kind of like alternative social media, and sometimes people post things on there. So you do get to find different potential ways to earn money, but you also get to think about ways that you might not need as much money, or that you might not need to spend 40 hours of your week in working, or you might switch up like what you consider work and what you're making money from. So it's I think in a lot of ways it does what education's supposed to do, which is kind of change your mind about things and change your paradigm, and give you examples of things that are working in the world and people, and then you have to find your own path from there.